Greetings, aspiring cartoonists. Welcome to my simple yet hopefully effective crash course in learning to draw and write comics. My intent with this video will be to show you how to not only get started with simple yet effective drawing techniques, but also give you insight into the process of crafting a story to move the drawings forward and give them something to do. With that said, let's get right into it. Comics, cartoons, paintings, and animation. What do these all have in common? They are each a primarily visual, artistic medium. What would become of them if they were to lose their visual aspect? You'd be left with nothing but words. And nobody likes stories told purely by words. Okay, maybe I went too far there, but it's clear to see that visual art can add another dimension to a well-told story. As an artist, it would be your job to create the visage which normally resides within the mind of readers. This is a great opportunity, but also a terrible responsibility. If the art you design doesn't live up to the reader's expectations, it can actually hurt a well-told story rather than helping it. My hope with this video is to get you on the path to living up to and blowing right past those expectations. But why do I color such a sharp connection between a written story and a drawn picture? It's because no matter what you draw, your drawings tell a story. With words or without them, an idea, a situation, an occurrence is communicated to those who observe. So, in reality, no visual artist can avoid authoring a story, even if they paint their words with a visual brush. So grab your pencils, pens, and paper because you're gonna need them. Have you got your drawing supplies? Then let's go! Let's start by drawing a line. If you can draw a line, you can make pretty much anything you want. To prove it, try drawing a line. Okay, now turn it into a circle. All you have to do that is curve the line around until it meets itself. No, I said curve it. You do know what the word curve means, right? Yes, now you've got it. Oh, no, now you lost it again. Okay, well, I trust that all you at home were at least able to get a circle drawn, even if he couldn't. So let's move on to our next technique, using the lines and curves you just drew to make a basic human. Practice this figure quite a bit. As you do, you may begin to discover how to add your own personal style to the drawing. But don't worry too much about that yet. It's good to spend time practicing the basics. Let's show you how to make some simple action poses with this basic figure. Using simple yet effective poses like this will allow you to practice drawing characters in varied situations. As drawing these poses and actions becomes more and more natural with repetition, you will find it easy to come up with more versions of these poses to give variety to your drawings. That's about all I have for getting started drawing people. Just keep practicing and adapting to what works for you. And the time will come that your own personal drawing style will develop naturally. Next, we should address the drawing of some basic household objects. Most objects can be reduced to a collection of various shapes worked together. Observe. Now, if you have trouble with objects like these, don't allow the weight of an ugly drawing to squash your artistic vision. Keep practicing, knowing that it is unavoidable that first attempts at drawing scenes, situations, and objects may not look quite like what you had envisioned. Sometimes things just don't work out, but that's what practice is for. Someday maybe I'll do an entire video on drawing 3D objects in perspective. However, that would go far beyond the intended depth and length of this course. For now, I'll give you a simple method of drawing basic shapes in 3D. First, draw your shape. Then add lines angled back. Then add another side to your shape, matching the profile of the side to which it is parallel. This can help you add some depth to your work, though it's only a simplified version of what would be necessary to truly draw 3D objects in spaces. Try it out. Now that you know how to draw objects and individuals, your next question may be, what do I do with them? Here's where we get to what I think is the really fun part: character design. Let's start by discussing what a character is. A character is a fictional individual over whom you, as the author, have control. But only so much control. Any true and dynamically designed character will have sufficiently established traits that they will act and react within stories in the way that only they can. It is your job as an artist to establish the basis of these characters, and then follow them wherever they might lead you. You cannot force them to make decisions that they, based upon their established traits, would not reasonably make themselves. To do so would damage and weaken their personality. Well, let's get started on designing our first character. I like to start with a concept. What kind of person will they be? You can imagine, or write down if it helps, various character traits and visual traits any individual may possess, and then bring together a selection that feels right to you. There is no right or wrong way to do this. You can do it however you like. I'm going to choose these traits: short, big nose, loud, grouchy. These are classic traits when it comes to a comedic character. You can design a serious, funny, or even tragic character based upon what you would like to draw. Now the next fun part. Character design sheets. A character design sheet lets you come up with varied designs for any individual character so that you can choose what you like best. Let's draw one together. Next, you can pick which of the various drawings you like best. Don't be afraid to pick parts of multiple drawings and mix them together into the final design for your new character. Just pick what looks best to you. Now let's get to know our new character a little bit. What's their name? You can come up with a normal name like Joe Fadson or a funny name like Squirp Nupwinkle. For our guy here, I'll choose the name Bradley McIntyre because I think it fits him well. Try to come up with some names of your own. Next, let's imagine this character in some normal daily life situations. How would they respond? Remember, their responses are based upon the established character traits that we came up with earlier. Let's put Bradley McIntyre into a situation. Let's have him treated rudely by someone in the street. This is a good way to get a strong reaction out of our character and get to know him better. If Bradley was treated rudely, like if someone rushed by and knocked him down, he might yell at them as they scurry away. But what might he yell? By choosing what Bradley might say, we begin to establish a firmer vocal character for him. His manner of speech and common catchphrases will make him more recognizable and deepen his personality. With that being said, let's make him British. Remember, your characters can be entirely new and unique, or use a well-known cliché to establish who they are. They could be pirates, cowboys, old cat ladies, space exploring heroes, etc. There's much more to be said about character design, but to go deeper, it would need its own separate video. So thus far we've discussed the artistic medium of cartoon drawings, as well as how to draw them, and topped it off with how to design your own unique characters. But now it's time to move on to our final section. Okay, now it's time to discuss how to take your characters and implement them into short stories and jokes. In reality, writing a joke is the same as writing any short story, only it ends in a surprising or unusual way that gives readers a laugh. So we'll start by discussing writing stories, and go on from there. To begin writing stories, we must think of the who, the what, or the where. Who might be involved in the story? Where does it take place? What is taking place anyway? If you have any trouble answering these questions, try writing a list of multiple answers for each, and then combining the answers. Here's an example. From this list, I think I will choose Bradley McIntyre meets a blobfish at the beach. Now, as you can clearly see, this story concept came out very silly, since it was mismatched from a long list. That's not a bad thing, if you do want to write jokes and humorous stories. If not, try to come up with a more serious list to generate ideas with. And also remember, the list is never in charge. If you have an idea that you really like, but no list, go with that idea every time. The list is only there to help you if you're having an idea blockage. But now let's take our idea and bring it forth to fruition as if I were really truly going to write a short story based upon it. What you'll want to do is place your character in the situation you chose and run through your mind how events might play out. What might Bradley and the blobfish discuss? Why is he at the beach? What other characters might they run into? Try to come up with a couple what, why, and who questions and answers like this. Then, answer them according to whatever you believe will fit your story well. My answers are as follows. Why is he at the beach? It's his day off and he wanted some sun. What might they discuss? The blobfish is tired of being called a blob. Who else might they run into? A sarcastic person who insults them. If you aren't quite satisfied with what you came up with, try reworking the questions, or even the original story prompt. Remember, you want it to satisfy your artistic vision for the story you want to produce. Now that we have many ideas for our story, we can simply decide what order we would like them to occur in, and then get to writing the actual story itself. But I also want to show you how to write jokes out of a story for the purpose of producing comic strips. Let's start with the first point I wrote down. To turn these points into a good joke, we need to identify what is most funny about them. It's funny to think about the fact that the blobfish has a name that sounds kinda insulting. Let's have Bradley go to the beach and say, "Ah, great day on the beach." And then, "Well, look at that, a blobfish." And the fish responds, "Well, look at that, a short person." Bradley is insulted and the fish responds, "Not much fun being profiled, is it?" And here I turn the idea into a comic strip. So here we have an interaction that utilizes relatable concept to most people's real life. The fish is probably called a blob all day every day and he's tired of it, so he fights back by picking on Bradley's short stature. Let's get it written into a final and finished comic strip. So, how do we continue the story? Let's look for a connecting element to get from where we are to where we need to be. The blobfish insulted Bradley. Maybe he would fire back with a verbal jab of his own. Bradley and the fish seem to be locked in a battle of words, and to break it up, we can have someone else come along and get in the middle of things, uniting them at last. The third cartoon concludes the story. More jokes could be written to lengthen the adventure, but for the purposes of this tutorial, these three demonstrate well how to start, continue, and finish a story concept, ridiculous as that concept itself may be. If you're having trouble coming up with stories, remember what we did in this section. Write a list of ideas, combine them, flesh them out further, and then take that and you have a solid concept of a story to go on. If I had more time, we could go deeper into the story and joke writing process, but this video has already gone on quite a while. Hopefully, you now have what you need to get started drawing characters, coming up with things for them to do, and writing stories as to how they'll do them. If you have any questions or suggestions, please leave a comment below. If you enjoyed the video, let me know what topics you'd like me to cover in future videos, as I enjoyed making this video and would love to do more. Special shout out to Emma, a local student whose suggestion was the catalyst for producing the tutorial. Hope it helps!